In Japan, there was once a train station operated just so a single girl could graduate. It's a wonderfully romantic story that I've seen popping up on social media for years. It's held up as proof of how empathetic Japan is and how much the country values education. But is it actually true? I went looking for the answer and I found it. The story is about Kana Halada, a young girl from rural Japan who used the same station every day for her school commute. One day, the decision was made to close the station, but in a happy twist of fate, the operator, Japan Rail, also known as JR, heard about her situation and acted quickly. They reportedly delayed the closure until the girl could graduate. Wonderful! Such humanity and empathy from a corporation. The West could really learn a thing or two from them. But stories like this immediately set off my alarm bells. And appropriately enough, my alarm button looks just like the emergency stop button on a Japanese train. I'm hopping off the hype train for a moment to see where it actually started. The station in question is Shirataki in Hokkaido. In 2015, JR officially announced they intended to close the station in March 2016. This was reported by the Hokkaido Shimbun Press, which stated, "It has been learned that on the 21st, JR Hokkaido informed the town of Engaru in the Okotsu region of its intention to close 3 unmanned stations, Kamishirataki, Shirataki and Shimoshirataki, on the Sekihoku line during the timetable revision next March." Shortly before the actual closure, the Asahi Shimbun reported on it again, mentioning the closure of 7 other stations as well. With the spring timetable revision coinciding with the opening of the Hokkaido Shinkansen, 8 unstaffed stations in Hokkaido will be closed after the 25th. There are 2 vital points in these announcements. First, the timetable change was planned for March 2016 from the very beginning. Second, JR always updates its schedules in March and any station closures are regularly carried out at this time. This is significant because these updates coincidentally align with the end of the school year in Japan, or whether it's not a coincidence but a cultural norm. This is the cherry blossom season, which has always marked a new beginning in Japan. Consequently, most fiscal and academic calendars are aligned with it. This directly contradicts the claim that JR kept the station open specifically for Kana. Depending on where you look, some even claim the train was operated for years just for her. In reality, JR announced the closure and carried it out a year later during the regular update cycle. There are no sources indicating that the closure was planned prior to 2016 and then postponed. I see no evidence here that the closure was delayed just for Kana. As for the girl herself, she was mentioned in the Asahi Shimbun article. Halada was driven by her parents from her home a few kilometers away, then took the train for about 30 minutes to commute to school. The station was closer to her high school than the neighboring Shirataki station, and she expressed her gratitude saying, "I was able to sleep a little longer every morning because that station was there." So she wasn't dependent on the train as is often claimed. It was simply more convenient. She could have taken the same train from a different station one stop earlier. She just would have had to wake up earlier because it was further away, about a 1.5 hour walk further according to Google Maps. Annoying, yes, but manageable, especially due to the fact of bicycles existing and the fact that, well, her parents already drove her to Shirataki by car. On Twitter, somebody posted the station's old timetable, which debunks another part of the myth. The claim that the train went twice a day just for her. The timetable clearly shows that while there was one train in the morning, the train stopped there at 3 different times in the other direction. Furthermore, she was just one of many passengers on that train. Her classmates, among others, took the same train. They simply boarded at an earlier station. A whole train wasn't running just for her. It was simply the only train out of many on that line that still stopped at that specific station. Occasionally, there were even other passengers at that station, they just didn't use it regularly. Final point, the station closed, but it was just one station on an entire line that still remains in operation today. You can see the Sekihoku line on Google Maps passing right by JR's Shirataki station, which is still open nowadays. This was also mentioned in the article I talked about earlier. JR reportedly told the town that the Sekihoku line would be maintained and that express trains would continue to stop at Shirataki station in the future. I only found a single third-party source that appeared to take a more critical approach to the story, albeit without providing direct citations. Newsphere explains, referencing the Straits Times from Singapore, that the story was apparently based on a Facebook post by CCTV, China Central Television. Furthermore, they mentioned an NHK report from January 2016 which stated there had been frequent discussions regarding the station's closure in the past. It is alleged that, in light of this, local residents engaged in lobbying efforts to prevent the shutdown. Kana herself is also quoted as saying, "I heard that the station would likely be closed after I graduate." However, it is impossible to say whether this lobbying was actually successful, as there were never any official reports regarding those discussions. Publicly, JR cited only declining passenger numbers as the reason for the closure. Additionally, if that were the case, the two other stations in the area would likely have been closed first. All of this remains very shaky. Just because discussions took place does not mean they would have immediately led to a closure. The most likely progression of these events, even without the lobbying, the closure likely wouldn't have happened any sooner. Will I get as much attention as the viral story? Probably not. Reality is usually much more boring than romanticized social media posts. Plus, it's hard to fit this many sources into a single image, so most people just scroll past. But at least now you know the truth. The fact that Japan is constantly being mystified is well known. I've actually spoken about this in one of my older videos, which you can see and click on the screen right now. If you're interested in Japan, especially the language, feel free to follow my channel, because that's what I talk about here most of the time. And as always I say, ciao and see you next time.